AMN Drivetime is sponsored by Aishin, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit AishinAftermarket.com for more information.
Shane, welcome to AMN Drivetime, sponsored by our great friends at Aishin.
Bill, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me share a bit about Advance's story.
Well, we're glad to have you, as we know, of course, but for the benefit of the audience, we are in Las Vegas right now during Industry Week, and you're just coming off the stage being interviewed as one of the big shots up there. So we're glad you could make some time this morning to visit with us.
Yeah, always and anytime. Anytime you need a perspective, happy to come back and great to be here today.
So there was a press release yesterday about consummating the Worldpac deal. Why don't we start with that, because it's right on top of us and very relevant.
Yeah, so big decision for us. And by the way, as you go through a transaction process, those are consequential events. They take a lot of time, they take resources. So to be at the point of announcing that press release, to be culminated with the deal, really a special moment for us as a company. And it signifies a couple of things. First, we're defining our strategy for Advance Auto Parts, which is we're going to focus on the blended box. And the concept here is that you take a retail store and you sell to a DIY customer, and you can think about that as a casual or an enthusiast, but also a pro customer. And so that's our strategy going forward. Selling Worldpac, which was peripheral to that, enables us to really focus on that. And by the way, we know we had some great team members from Worldpac. They'll be successful with their new owners going to be part of Carlisle.
And we touched on it just a little bit before we went live here. You're still going to have some sort of connectivity with them for a period of time, right?
Sure. Anytime you do a corporate divestiture, you're going to have a thing called TSAs, Transition Services Agreements. And I'll offer an example. So we buy product from Worldpac, or had that relationship before we sold it. So we wanted to ensure that we would have that capability going forward. By the way, important to Worldpac too, because those would be sales that they could count on or the new owner could count on. So there's a number of arrangements like that that continue after the deal to make sure that both parties can get on their feet, if you will, in the post-deal environment.
Sure, makes sense. And just to transition, Carquest.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about Carquest before we started as well. Talk to us about Carquest. How does it fit in? What's the strategy? It is a grand old brand name of the automotive aftermarket, of course. Yeah, no, Carquest absolutely fits in. As a reminder, that stems from the GPI acquisition, which we did in very late 2013. Yep. And you're going to see Carquest show up in three ways in our company. First, in terms of the independents. We have give or take 1,000 independents, and these are often multi-generational owners of parts locations that help us in a number of ways. They help us get into geographies that we wouldn't otherwise want to have a store. They help us in end markets such as ag and marine, and they have a pro focus as it relates to heavy duty. So definitely helpful for us. So you'll see that. You'll see Carquest independents as stores. The second thing you'll see is Carquest is our brand for Canada. And at the same time we announced that we were selling Worldpac, we said we're keeping Canada. We like Canada. We've got good people, it's a great market, we like our store locations. So everything about how we go to market in Canada is under the Carquest flag. Lastly, Carquest is a prominent name that we use for our products. And you'll see that notably with, for example, our brake products. And look at our pads and rotors. We believe that that's got a lot of brand cachet. Customers like that Carquest brand. They like the quality of the product. So you'll see it prominently as we go forward across all three of those dimensions. And you see Carquest as more of a B2B brand versus B2C? It does. You'll see some front room Carquest products, brake fluid and things like that. But it is predominantly a pro-oriented brand. Sure. So just taking a step back, for the benefit of our audience, walk us through your career. Yeah. And we're obviously now the CEO of Advance, but give us the background for our audience, if you would. So I'm thrilled to be in this industry, and I really do believe it's a community. It's tight-knit. You see the connectivity between a customer and their parts suppliers with the vendors, and so it's great to be in an industry that has that overall sentiment. And I got here because I'm a car guy.
I like cars. I will drive anything that has wheels. That can be 4 or 2. It can be on-road. It can be off-road. I'll watch anybody drive in any racing series. By the way, shameless plug here. We're behind the number 12 car with Ryan Blaney.
Okay.
He is now going to the finals in Phoenix, Final Four for NASCAR. Great win at Martinsville. So I like watching auto racing. And so to get to be part of an industry where you really love the product is amazing. Now, I got here somewhat waywardly. I came most recently from Home Depot,
Yep.
which is a fantastic company, and an important series of lessons learned there. Home Depot also espouses the blended box model. If you go into a Home Depot store, what do you see? You'll see a homeowner,
Yep.
maybe going to hang a mirror or fix a toilet, just like you'll see an auto enthusiast coming in to change their oil or do some appearance chemicals. But also at Home Depot, you'll see pros, because they're building a house. They're a plumber, they're an electrician, they're a framer. And so too in our industry. So the transferability of some of the key lessons of what it takes to be successful in that home improvement industry, very relevant here as well. Prior to that, I ran a petroleum products company where our largest segment was automotive. So got to know the automotive industry from another lens, which was we were pulling oil hoses into shops for bulk oil, sometimes fuel. And I always looked jealously at the parts suppliers because the overall dynamics in parts is much better than it is in bulk fluids. And earlier in my career, time in the service, which for me was profound, if for no other reason to know that it's great to be part of something bigger than yourself. And for me, the respect I have for the men and women who have served in the conflicts in the past almost 20 years, my hat's off to them.
So you're being modest about your educational background. You went from West Point, which is hard to get in as any Ivy League college, or maybe harder. And then you served in the military, and then of course you went on to Harvard Business School. So those things together, how do they serve you being CEO of Advance or in your time at Home Depot or wherever it may be? You must have learned a lot between the military and West Point and Harvard Business School.
Both institutions had an impact, and I consider myself lucky to have gotten in. I knew I wanted to go to West Point very early in life, at about age 10, 11. I couldn't think of a better place to go. And the idea of serving the nation, subscribing to something bigger than yourself, working with amazing men and women where that sense of purpose and camaraderie, very tough to replicate in other environments. And going there didn't disappoint. And think about life lessons such as listen before you speak, follow before you lead, a sense of humility, and how you think about working with a team, that the organization's purpose is more important than your individual aspirations. I think those are really, really critical lessons that now are relevant here in auto parts. As it relates to the business school side of the house, business is a lot like seeing movies in terms of different situations. So this is a growth story, this is a new market entry, this is an M&A situation. Yeah. And so learning and seeing a number of different ways on how different companies deal with that, I think is good for what we're doing in Advance. So having a chance to have seen on other fields and other days how different businesses deal with tough situations, helpful as we go forward on our journey.
And did you go, so you were, at what age did you go to business school?
I was 28.
Okay, got it. So we touched on it just a little bit with Carquest, but just kind of from a bigger picture. Talk about Advance, B2B, B2C, how do you weight them? How do they play together in your world? Yeah,
so I think to be successful, you've got to have both. And we think about it across both 4 segments within that, so 2 in each. So within the DIY, you've got the casual DIYer. And their frequency of purchase is going to be a little less often, but they want to have a great experience. Then you've got a DIY enthusiast, might be doing some engine work. They're looking for some advice, and they don't have the benefit of doing whatever that project is again and again. So we've got to make sure we've got the parts available. We have counter team members who are ready to help that DIYer on the journey. But when you get into the pro side, now it's really about, do you have the part? By the way, is it a quality part, your brand or a national brand? when can I get it? And think about a pro who's got a car on a lift, and they want to know they can count on you because they're running a business, and they're looking for you to help them run their business. And so that's really important to us. By the way, so too is price, right? You got to be competitively priced. So you've got to do all of those things. So serving those two cohorts across their respective segments, really important. It's the hallmark of what we want to do going forward. And by the way, we think that there's growth in both as the market evolves.
So 50-50, is that what you're thinking?
So I don't have the exact number, but
Understood.
I can do a follow-up. But that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, it's a
sure.
good
And
initial
how about
number.
branded products versus your own private brand? You guys think about that
Sure do.
strategically, and where have you landed on that?
I think if there's one thing COVID taught us, it's pay attention to your supply chain and your suppliers in terms of how and where you get product. And that can influence where you might do a private branded product, where you might do a national product, where you might do a national product that you put in your box. And so we're now looking at that really thoughtfully. And the most important voice in the room is the customers. Sure. So what does the customer say in terms of, hey, I have a strong preference for a national brand, we better have that national brand. If they say, I don't need a national brand, but quality is important, I think that's where our private brands can come in. But one of the things we're doing is parsing that a bit to determine whether or not we want to go it alone as Advance and literally go spend time walking around factories and figuring it out for ourselves versus partnering with other companies who can then say, hey, we'll take care of that, and then you just tell us how you want to brand the product in your box. I think you'll see automotive aftermarket retailers doing all three of those. They'll be doing national products, they'll be doing effectively a national product that's flagged as theirs, and then they may be investigating executing the entire supply chain independently in terms of their company.
So I understand it. You spend a fair amount of time visiting your stores and technicians.
Yes, I love it. So we don't sell anything in headquarters.
Yep.
And so anytime I can be in a store or in front of a customer is a great day. And the richness of what you learn, the unvarnished feedback.
Yeah.
I think you go see a small shop owner struggling with something. They're not gonna mince words in describing what you're doing well or where there's a shortfall.
Right.
And so it's just invaluable feedback. I'll give you one example. I was talking to a customer who said, hey, we love Advance. We prefer to buy from Advance. And by the way, your service is good. But in this case, for a particular part, our pricing wasn't. And what the customer said is, I'm not after you for $1 or $2 on either side. That's not the issue. But if you're significantly different in terms of where you're priced relative to the competition, that's money out of my pocket. And so that kind of feedback really helpful because I can go back to the pricing team and say, hey, let's look at this particular SKU or this category and make sure that we're priced right.
You talked about the inverted pyramid today, where the customer and then the person calling on the customer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value in listening to those conversations.
Yeah. I think the lifeblood of any business, and you ignore those two at your peril. And that comes from the service in terms of how leaders operate. The leaders eat last. You may have heard that
Yes.
slogan. And taking care of the men and women in your charge. That's the sacred responsibility. Also came from my time at Home Depot. Bernie Marcus, who unfortunately just passed away, he and Arthur Blank actually depicted the inverted pyramid as a triangle, and they put the leadership at the bottom. And so if you recognize that, and you recognize that the true voice of what you need to do is going to come from those upper strata of that triangle, which is the customer and the front line, you can be successful.
Leaders eat last. I think it was Colin Powell who said, with the leaders, first boots on, last boots off.
Yeah, muddy boots. So I can't say enough things about Colin Powell. So much respect. Interesting, got my diploma from him.
Oh, no way.
Which is a magical day. I still have the picture.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
and
what was he? Was he still Secretary of Defense? Or
he
of
was
State?
actually a 4-star general at the time.
Oh, a 4-star general.
Going back a few years.
My gosh.
But just the decency and decisiveness of his leadership, the commitment to integrity, always leading by example.
Yeah.
I think just a leader of leaders and really epitomizes what our country needs and requires in key roles, and I hope and look for more people to follow his example as America goes forward.
So note to the AMN audience here, I did not know that Colin Powell gave him his diploma. That was not a softball. That was just total happenstance that came up. Advance has made recent changes on the merchandising team, most notably hiring a new chief merchant.
Yeah, Bruce Starnes.
And so what's that going to mean for your business moving forward?
So fundamentals are really important in this industry. Perhaps nowhere more clearly, I think store operations, I think you'd put up at the top, back to that inverted pyramid. But how your merchandising function operates, absolutely critical. Because you need to partner with your suppliers. By the way, you've got to make sure that you've got, back to that triumvirate of here's a national brand, here's a brand that somebody else is making and boxing versus we're actually doing it all ourselves. That's what merchandising does. And they need to really figure out who we're doing business with and making sure that those companies recognize the importance of the partnership mutually. And so having a guy like Bruce Starnes, where he comes from Target. Target has absolutely fabulous merchants. They're really, really good at what they do. Yep. But importantly, he's a car guy. So I think one of the things, if you're going to have folks come from other industries, which can be relevant, making sure though that they want to be immersed in auto parts, that they like what it is we do, because you can't fake it in this business.
No, you can't.
The people are too genuine. They know too much.
They've been at it too long.
They've been at it too long, right? Case in point, how many years?
36.
36. So to have a guy, he's a big Ford Bronco guy. He's got the new Bronco. He's got a 30-year-old Bronco, and so he wrenches, changed his starter out a couple of weeks ago. So to have a guy who has the pedigree of merchandising that comes from Target, but then combine it with the enthusiasm to be in auto parts, you'll start to see that cascade through our business as we work with our suppliers. And we want that to be a partnership, by the way. You cannot go it alone.
Right.
An expression I like to use is dance with the one who brung you.
Yeah.
And this industry absolutely exemplifies that. And so we're looking for deep partnerships, trust-based relationships. And as we go on this next chapter, suppliers play a really important role. And we like to think that growth for Advance is a good thing for the industry, because if you look at, there's been some consolidation and you got a number of key players. Having Advance thriving is a great outlet for suppliers to have one more leg of the stool for where their parts can go. And and I've been blown away it's only been a year, the degree to which vendors, suppliers will come up to me and say, hey, we're behind you. We are looking forward to this next chapter of where Advance is going. We want to be part of it. Let's do this together.
It's interesting you say that. Having been in this industry my whole life, the relationship between distribution and the manufacturers, it is very, very close and very, very symbiotic. And it really seems to work on the overall. And it really works very much hand in glove.
Yeah. And I've seen that just in my short time. Yep. I've seen where in other industries that model works. And so when it comes to in-market support, vendors are invaluable. Product development, product tech support, and then the softer things. It's being together to get a big win from a customer or to take care of a customer's problems. And then you have the war stories for the next time around. And so if you look at this industry and the relationships, it's not a vendor and a distributor or a retailer. These are partners. These are friends.
Yes.
These are people where you can call up and say, hey, listen, I'm in a bit of a jam here. Yeah. And somebody's going to lean and help you get through it. And so too the other way, where vendors say, hey, I've got a little bit of a jam. And so I love that. And for me, to get to be part of that and to help Advance as it grows, I think is a great place to be.
Well, we heard today on the stage from everybody about relationships and about the people in the automotive aftermarket. And that's been a theme for 30 years in this business.
Yeah, people buy from people.
They do.
And so how do you show up?
Yep.
And what I love about that is that it's not a transactional relationship.
Right.
Because a transactional relationship lasts for a minute. And
Yep.
if one party takes advantage of the other, then it's soured and doesn't go forward. So I know that my reputation matters, and if I give my word, if I commit the resources of Advance Auto Parts towards something, it's because we want to be there for the long haul, and so too the other way. And I think you can do that here.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're looking to do. That's what we'll, Bruce, as he gets going, I think you'll see more of that as we go forward.
So as you look out to 25, and I'm not going to say too far beyond, right? It's just the world's moving so fast. So go 25, 26, maybe 27. What's the vision? Do you have a kind of a specific plan in mind that you're thinking about that you can share with our audience?
So we got earnings coming up here in just next week. So encourage everybody to listen in. But we're going to be focused post Worldpac on the fundamentals of the blended box. And you can think about that as the right part in the right place at the right time. So some of the things that help contribute to that, supply chain. So we're on a journey to consolidate our supply chain, and we're doing that by reducing the number of large intake DCs or consolidating our DC infrastructure. So when I came on board, we had 38 DCs.
Oh wow, it's a lot.
And so we think the right number going forward is 14. In terms of large DCs,
sure.
Supported by a brand new facility for us, which is a market hub. Now, other companies call them other terms, but think of this as a large in-market facility that increases the number of parts that are available same day to the customer.
And how many market hubs would there be in addition to the 14?
So we've put out, our initial goal is to get to 60, and then we'll revisit and go from there, potentially adding as we go forward. But think about one of the important things is we went to our customers and we benchmarked how many products do you get in this market in 30 minutes? What do you get in 2 hours? What do you get in 4 hours? What do you get same day? What do you get next day? And what we found is we had fewer parts available at each of those time thresholds. So the idea behind the market hub is that you have a larger selection of parts that accelerates what's available at each time horizon, so that ultimately when a customer calls up and says, hey, do you have it? Yes. Can I get it in X time? We can meet that. So look for a lot of activity around that as you think about 25, 26, and 27. Look for us to focus on growth. Look for us to focus on rejuvenating our new store opening capability. So we've been pretty modest in terms of the number of stores. And we made a couple of moves to help accelerate that going forward.
Are those Advance stores or Carquest stores or
so,
all the above?
Yeah, so predominantly Advance stores, although as we talked about with independents, in the right markets, either geography or end market, we'll certainly look at opening more independents, so both. But blended box in terms of who we're trying to serve. And so we consolidated our real estate efforts to really bolster how quickly we could do that. We've put out publicly that we want to get to where we can open 100 stores a year, which then starts to give you more density in markets and gives you the ability to say yes to customers more frequently, and that in turn fuels growth, and that in turn is exciting to vendors. And so you create a flywheel that starts to go and generates good things for the industry.
So Shane, it is tradition on Drivetime that we do something called lightning round.
Okay, lightning round.
And I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you're just going to give me a quick answer off the top of your head.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready.
You sure you're ready?
I don't know.
All right, we're going to find out.
Come on.
Okay. What TV show or movie are you hooked on right now?
Movies. I think Forrest Gump's a great movie. I think The Shawshank Redemption's a great movie. Those are two that inevitably they're on and you end up watching them and you've seen them 20 times. I really enjoy that. I watched the show Slow Horses on Netflix, which is a bit of an espionage thriller in England. So that was something. I don't watch a lot of regular TV.
Right.
But I do, so I'll watch something on Netflix, and that's helpful if you're traveling or on a plane. You can download a couple of episodes. And then I like sports. I like college football, so that's the other thing that I'll watch. SEC football. My wife went to Georgia, so I support Georgia Bulldogs. And then Army, Army's 8-0. Notre Dame and Navy here, a couple of key games coming up, but conceivable.
Could they make the top 12?
If they beat Notre Dame, I think they have a chance.
Well, if they beat Notre Dame, what are they now?
So they're 18th.
Oh, yeah. What's Notre Dame, like 10 or something?
Yeah. So
that'd be exciting.
So the question is, how does that game go, and how much do they beat them by? I think all gets factored in. But even if they lose to Notre Dame, beating Navy, which is
that's all you got to do.
That is how a season is defined.
So being from Ohio, you can go lose every game, but as long as you beat Michigan, you're good.
If you got it. And so you got Ohio State.
They're looking good.
Looking pretty good.
Looking pretty good.
I think Ryan Day, this might be his year. Let's see what he can do.
Do you like pens? You like pencils?
Pen. And I like, by the way, I think it's important that you actually write. And so one of the things I like to do is if there's something that's gone on with a team member, it could be a customer or vendor, write a note.
Yep.
I think if you take 5 minutes to say thank you to people, those are 2 words that never go out of style. And if you actually physically write them yourself on paper, it matters all the more.
It's far too little gratitude in the world, right?
Indeed.
So, favorite place, now you've been to a lot of places, favorite place you've ever been?
I think getting a chance as a service member to go over to Europe. So I'm a kid who grew up in rural New York, and getting a chance to serve in Army Europe. I was actually stationed in Italy. The food,
Where in Italy?
the people, Vicenza.
Okay.
Equidistant between Venice and Verona.
Sure.
Getting a chance to see the Italian people, the culture, their zest for life. Pretty amazing place. I like Italy.
Fantastic. Now, we're just meeting each other. You seem like a pretty pragmatic, practical guy. Nonetheless, what luxury is worth the price?
Time with your family. I think, and so that's one, when you're in a job that's all consuming in terms of time, and there's no day that is ever officially done. And so you need to make sure that you're definitive about saying, hey, this is going to define best effort for today, and being with my family is really that's a luxury, to have quality time with your family, right. To do things. This past weekend, my son had a swim meet, and sometimes sitting by the pool, it's hot, smells like chlorine, and it goes
7
on.
hours to watch him swim for 4 minutes.
It's exactly what it is, but when he comes out of the water, I'm there giving him a thumbs up. I think making sure you do that's worth whatever price you got to pay.
Fantastic. Sweets or savory?
Savory. And as I get older, the earlier version of me, sweets all day long. I think the problem, I think just with the U.S. in general, the healthcare system, sugar is insidious. It's everywhere, and the compounding negative effects of being in a sugar-heavy diet. And so I've cut out sugar by and large, and I find that I enjoy savory foods, and all your health markers improve when you cut out sugar.
What form of social media do you favor?
So I don't do anything but LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I think LinkedIn is really helpful.
Yep.
And I learn from LinkedIn. Actually, I learn a lot about our company, because there'll be a sales guy posting about a customer that he or she just visited, or a store owner who's got a particular situation. We have 4,700 stores, 1,000 independents. There's no aggregated reports that are going to be able to show me, and I'm a visual learner as well, so I see a picture and then I can respond.
Sure.
Hey, great job taking care of that customer. And so I think that LinkedIn's a powerful platform for that, and I like it.
Last one. Who is the most, we may have heard it already, but I bet not. Who is the most famous person you've met?
I've had the occasion to meet Jimmy Carter some years ago, and I say this not making it a political situation, but the degree to which he is a decent, genuine human being, I think is something that bears mention. And for me, what I aspire to do as a leader, or the leaders I most respect, are the ones who connect individually with people because they have empathy and they care about people, and they want to understand things from a person's perspective. I look for leaders like that, and I think he's one who exemplified it.
Great to have you on
Bill,
AMN Drive Time, sponsored by Aishin.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishin, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit aishinaftermarket.com for more information.